the reality.
How bad of a situation is that?
Oh yeah, I thought I was gonna die. I actually should have died.
Wow.
How old were you at that point?
It was 11 years ago, so 35.
Wow.
And would you share that? So what were you doing? What was it?
By the way, he said it so subtly. 11 years ago, I was 35. Meaning today, you're how old?
46.
I would have never freaking guessed this guy's 46.
Looking
Seriously.
good? Looking good?
I would never guess he's 40. Even Jennifer yesterday I thought you were in your late 20s. Not Jennifer, your wife, Jennifer, my wife.
Yes.
So
You're both
name.
Jennifers, okay?
Yeah.
And David's.
So you wanna tell him because he asked you a question on
Yeah, we can dive into that. I'll just summarize. Not walking with the Lord, trying to do my things my own way. My go-tos were alcohol, and then when your party starts to get a little bit long, it's Coke, and keep the party going. And so I had been doing that. We were living in Southern California, in Orange County, and a friend of mine that we would party together. We went out to go get some Coke this one night, and we got it, and it wouldn't chop up. And I know this is not just R-rated, right? But everybody's seen the movies at least. Cocaine chops up. It's powder. It wouldn't chop up, and it was just kind of mushy. And he said, well, let's just smoke it. And so we smoked it, and it was unlike anything I'd ever tried before. And then he's all, how you like that? And I was all, that was different. And he's all, that was crack.
I believe that's freebasing.
It was crack, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that started about almost 2 years where I kept it from my wife.
Brother.
For the most
wow.
part,
So,
but I lost about 50 pounds. I continued to lose
and you're a
weight.
big dude. What, 6'5"?
Yeah, 6'4", 250, 255.
And you went down to what?
180.
Dude. Okay.
My high school weight. So my wife didn't know what was going on. We moved back to Redding.
You were doing this without her knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah, I was doing it at night, or just I was working on road crews a lot, so we'd leave for a week or two. So we moved back to Redding, and within like a month, she just knew something was wrong. I found a new friend, Misery Loves Company, right? I found a new friend I used to do coke with, and told him I was doing crack, and he's like, I want to try it. I was like, that's a first. Somebody's like, wanting to try crack? I would have never said, sure, give me some crack, until my buddy's just like, here, smoke it. So my wife moved out, took the kids, and she's like, I don't know what's going on, but I know it's not right. And we would just be up like all night and into the wee hours in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock.
This consumed your life, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would still go to work. I would try to go to work during the day, which was, my business life was just falling apart. I was a business owner at the time.
And you're in your mid-30s at this point?
Yeah.
So it's not like you were some kid, some college kid. You were a grown-ass man with a family, man, and kids.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
So my wife reached out to an old friend of ours and said, Jeff, you've got to talk to David. Jeff, we've known he's one of my oldest and dearest friends, strong believer. When I went and met with him, he later told me, he said, you know that king in Lord of the Rings that had the spirit of death on him? He's like, that looked like you. He's like, I could see death on you. This was later. I'll get to what happened. So we had that talk, and then one night I was with my friend that we were just staying up and playing games and smoking, and you're supposed to exhale pretty quick once you hit it, and I'm always trying to push the envelope, and I inhaled it and kept it in a little too long, I guess, and my eyeballs started going up and down like that fast. Like you can't make your eyeballs go up and down that fast. And in that moment, I know I heard God's voice just saying, don't freak out. Don't freak out. This will pass. This will pass. And so I didn't look at my friend sitting across the table because I knew he'd freak out. Like I would freak out if I saw somebody's eyeballs doing that, right?
Yeah.
It lasted about 60 seconds, and then it just subsided and went away. So the next morning I called the friend that introduced me to crack and told him what happened. And he said, David, if you would have freaked out and panicked, your heart would have exploded. Your body was overdosing. So it was about 2 weeks later, if you can believe that, but it was about 2 weeks later that I had finished doing all the drugs I had, which was fronted to me actually. I finished it all, and then it was Saturday night, I was done, and I just said, God, I made an absolute mess of my life. My wife's gone, business is shut down. What do you want me to do? And I heard him say, go to church. And this is now Sunday morning. I'm having this argument, so to speak, with God. And I finally stopped arguing because it was like I had nothing. I was absolutely just destitute and broke. So I stopped arguing with God. I went to church. It's a large church in Redding called Bethel Church. and that was a church I had used to go to. I share that just to say it was very large, and the road that leads to the church is like one road, and it only goes to the church. So I got in the car, I turned on K-Love. I think that's what the guy was listening to on my Uber on the way here actually today. I'm listening to K-Love, and I just started weeping. I just started bawling. I was just like, I'm just broken, so broken. I drive, the cars are lining the side of the street that the church is so packed. I get to the church, I get to the top, cars everywhere, and then I see a sign that says parking lot full, and I keep driving, and the very first parking spot's open. So I park. I walk inside. They had the overflow was just packed in the lobby, and the church was totally packed. Service was probably just done with worship, so it was probably going for an hour. I look in the auditorium, and no seats anywhere, and I get a tap on my shoulder. This lady's like, "You looking for a seat? You can have mine." I'm right in the middle, third row from the left, on the left. So I'm kind of like looking up like, okay, I got a seat. I got this parking spot. I go and I sit down. As soon as I sit down, the pastor comes walking out, and he says, "Today's message, I'm going to talk to you about the prodigal son coming home and walking into his inheritance."
Talk about timing.
Total God thing, right? Total Papa thing. So I hear the message. I talked to a couple pastors that I knew that were right there, Chris Valentin and a couple others. Told them what I was dealing with, cracked. Told them I almost OD'd. And Chris actually prayed for me, and it felt like his hand just sunk into me. And never the same after that. Never touched crack cocaine again. And then
cold turkey, boom, you're done.
Cold turkey, done.
After
11 years?
Yeah. Well, 11 years ago. Yeah, I was doing it for 2 years.
Have you touched alcohol since? Anything since?
Yeah. I still dabbled a little bit in alcohol. Quit that about 3 years ago. And then my wife and I quit together, which has been amazing, almost a year ago. So that's been a strong thing. Because it was hard being married, at least for us. We were kind of codependent. We got married young, right? I was 18, she was 16. That's a whole other story. But we grew up together. And then having issues, it can be easy to just, she's doing it, I'm doing it, we'll both do it. Although she never did crack. We used to do other stuff together. But so God is good, man. His mercy is real, his forgiveness is real, his restoration is real. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And now I've got this platform. So anyway, it's
crazy. The story's last couple of weeks, by the way, right? I mean, it's not even intentional. It just kind of goes into it. The last two podcasts, right? Even the podcast with Gerard, and Gerard's not even a believer. Gerard just, is a guy who.
Well, Gerard's story is insane. His story about how he got stabbed and how he doesn't drink hard liquor anymore, and
Gerard's got.
Anyways, kind of got to get to the lowest point to redeem yourself.
Thank you for sharing that, brother. Appreciate you. Yes. A lot of commentary here is blown away by the story. Adam, what's the worst health condition you ever had where you're like, dude, this is nothing comes close to this. This sucks.
Yeah, well, luckily I've never had anything like that before. I have partied my ass off in South Beach, but I've always known my limits, so I've never been into the powder, been more into the green at the end of the night, like
money,
joint. Yeah, the money. I smoke money. Money's growing on trees. So luckily, I've never had these issues. I've never had this fall from grace or these, major hills and valleys. I think the worst. Yeah, I've had, COVID was pretty bad.
COVID's the worst.
For 3 days, I could not move. I just glued to my bed, and then I think I had a bad flu one time before, but luckily I've been blessed with good health.
Phil,
flu shot.
20
years old. Because playing Division I basketball, they wanted everybody to take the flu shot. And I was like, man, I don't really want to do this. But at 19, freshman year, I took it. I didn't feel so good then. And then sophomore year comes around, and I'm like really bad for like 10 days. So I had to go to like the, on campus, they have like a medical facility and this and that. And they're like, we got to run some tests because you can't leave.
You got sick from the flu shot?
Yeah.
At 20. Yeah. So this is 20 plus years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they came back and were like, you have a certain gene variant that, like, depending on certain flu vaccine or whatever, it could really create some problems for you. So I remember telling the team doc, I'm like, I'm not taking that ever again. I was at 21. And you're like, well, I guess you're not going to play. I was like, I don't give it, I don't care.
It was that bad?
Wow. Yeah. Like, like 2 days of like knowing that like you got to run tests on me. And I just felt like, to be honest, I just felt like NCAA, they didn't give a damn. The coaching staff, they didn't care. They're like, oh, well, you got to get it because it protects everybody else and this and that. We're all, traveling together, this and that. And I'm like, but I almost died. So like, screw you. Like I'll miss a couple games. I don't care. So,
so that was your close call.
Yeah.
Okay. How about yours, Pat?
Dude,
health and maybe you know in the Army you used to party a little bit.
I'm not going to count that stuff. That stuff is just
life
self-inflicted. You know, some of that stuff is self-inflicted. But I would say, forget the war in Iran. I'm talking health, like situation, like something happens to you, catch bronchitis or pollen, all that. All the drinking, all the stuff that I did. It's just, you know, in the Army, you drink tequila, 1 or 2 bottles of tequila every week for 2 years straight. Yeah. So just think about that.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you notice the stock of Jose Cuervo doing good from 97 to 99.
Thanks, PBD.
They owe you some money. They owe you some stock.
And I was a great recruiter as well, which means I never drank alone. Yeah. And I said, guys, come on.
Hey, guys, huddle up here. Big meeting, huddle up. It's our Monday motivation.
By the way, one of these days, Felix and Bradford's got to tell these stories of how it was in the Army. Anyway, so for me, I had bronchitis. Sucked, right?
When was this?
Pneumonia. Just in the last 15 years. I had it. It sucked. In the Army, I had a dehydration situation, which was terrible because I was digging a foxhole and I was trying to be such a, great soldier that I dug up 6 foxholes, 6 feet by 3 feet by 6 feet in Cat 4, Cat 5, in, South Carolina, in the heat, in July, August, which is the worst time to do so. Got completely dehydrated, was in a hospital. They had IVs on me left and right. So I've had a lot of those instances where I pushed the envelope. But allergy with pollen, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I was in the emergency room for like straight 13 times in a span of 2 weeks, first 6 months of 2019. Well, I can't breathe.
Dang.
I just couldn't breathe.
2 years ago.
This is it. Yeah, this is 2 years ago. Now, obviously, I didn't announce it. I said, I don't.
Allergy.
But it was kicking my ass. I thought it's over with, right? I'm like, Jen would hold my hands. I'm like, I can't breathe, Jen. So we'd go straight to ER. Middle of the night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Pollen. And I asked the doctor, I said, so where should I live? The doctor said, you should be as close to the ocean as possible. I said, that's all you have to say.
Right? All right, we're good.
Hey, why do you have such a house in front of the water? Because the doctor said so.
Right?
Blame him,
What about the story you talked about when you were doing the PHP tour and you had sleep deprivation?
But that was because I was just pushing. Sometimes I don't mind those exhaustion from working too hard. I don't mind those because those happen once every other year, once every 3 years. I get one of those, right? Just go in. And a doctor says your body is just telling you got to shut it down for a couple days. Yeah. You get a few IVs, you come out,
sleep,
you're good to go.
Sleep. Underrated.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.